Welcome to Firewire. You're watching Firewire. Welcome to Firewire. You're watching Firewire. Welcome to Firewire.
Tonight's special guest.
You're watching Firewire. Welcome to Firewire. You're watching Firewire.
Hey, you finally felt like showing up. Welcome to the Firewire at East Hampton Bowl. Come on in.
Well, go down the road, Lord, way down the road. Go down the road, Lord, way down that northern road. Wish I could meet somebody to help me carry the load. Go down the road, Lord, way down that northern road. Well, the road's in front of me, baby, but there's nothing to do but walk. Road's in front of me, baby, nothing to do but walk and walk. Wish I could meet a good friend to come along and talk. Roads in front of me, baby, nothing to do but walk and walk. Oh yeah. Well, Lord, I hate to be low and I hate to be sad. Hate to be lonely, Lord, and I hate to be sad. It seems like everybody I meet, they try to do me bad. Lord, I hate to be lonely, and I hate to be sad. Oh yeah. Well, road, go down the northern road. Road, baby, going down that northern road. In the Mississippi town, ain't fit for hopping toad. Going down the road, Lord, way down that northern road. Oh yeah.
Welcome back to the Firewire, here with Joe Delia. Joe, thank you so much for coming out. Man, songs were amazing. You're going to do more for us after the interview?
Yes, we are. We started out with Under the Montauk Moon, our anthem to Montauk and the East End.
I understand it's your wife who really that's who you wrote the song for. Do I have that right?
PJ, who is my wife, and she manages our band Thieves. And she actually came to me with this lyric. And she said, maybe you could write a song with the words, aimless and immortal by the sea. And I said, that sounds pretty cerebral. That sounds pretty E.E. Cummings, for a rock and roll title. And I started writing something, and it turned out to be Under the Montauk Moon, and I was able to get that lyric in as sort of a payoff, kind of a punchline to this narrative that we wrote about Montauk. So yes, PJ was very much involved in the creation of the song, and it's been well received out here. And
that's great. I mean, we're going to go into it. I mean, you got a couple of gold records. I think you got a platinum one out there. We're going to go into that. But what's the second song? Let's go.
The second song is Fire in My Belly, Rock and Roll Till the Day I Die, which again is sort of a
there you go. Look, everywhere you go, you got fans. Everywhere you go.
I love it, man. Fire my...
In Montauk history.
There you go.
Joe Delia is awesome.
He is. I agree.
I have his CD. So, Joe Delia is awesome. He sings songs about...
Do you have it in the car with you? Maybe you could get a signature.
I have it here.
Ah, see?
You're awesome.
Thank you. Rock and roll till the day I die. Again, another sort of anthem in my head. Right. Another song that when we play out here, people now after maybe a year and a half since the record came out, people know the record and they know the song, and that's really gratifying to get up there and play it and have people sing along and dance to it.
Well, one thing I like is I notice like when performers perform songs for a long period of time, you can almost see the boredom come through when they perform. You were nothing but pure energy out there.
Yeah, it's performing has been, again, it's been a very, fun trip, a fun activity for us all to do. We've started up the Thieves band and this whole project 3 years ago. It's just now 3 years. And because we have a second home out here in Montauk, we're kind of making transition to eventually living out here full time. But we've been associated with the East End for years. I have been, and my wife grew up out here. So it's really been in the past 3 years that we've been out here a lot, and I started playing again. And the thing has sort of taken on a little bit of a life of its own, and we're playing and performing and enjoying it. It's all
sounding great while you're doing it.
Yeah,
it's sounding great.
It's really nice, and I think this is one of the things that Walker touched on was the artistic community out here, the music community. It's really wonderful. I mean, the guys that came out and played with me tonight, James Bernard and Joe Potter, who, James is a regular member of the band. Job is a singer and songwriter who plays, the local circuit here. He's a very talented guy, and he had never really played with me before. But he
couldn't tell.
No, but he had. I called him early today because the other kind of main Thieves guys weren't available to make it out here, and I was like, we gotta have a guitar player. Job, I knew the song "Fire in My Belly" because he had done some local event and had performed my song. It was cool, and he had a different spin on it. He did it because he's a folk singer. He kind of did a folk version of his song, which is very much like a Rolling Stones kind of song, right? I said, I'll give Job a call and we'll do it a little differently. It was just very nice, So I think the whole community out here is wonderful. The music community. It goes from, there's a whole spectrum of people, ages and genres and styles and professional stature and whatever. It crosses a lot of
musical genres.
So, and everybody is doing it, and it's really good.
And the one thing I've noticed out here too is, back in the '80s, I was with a hair metal band. I had the look back then. Right. Nice 3-octave range. Now I'm lucky. Back then, but that was like 2 million cigarettes ago, or 2 million cartons. So you know what that does to your voice. So I'm down about 1.5 octaves. I could still do a nice, like if I'm doing Creed, I could do a nice. That I can handle. You give me Stone Temple Pilots, I can handle. Back in the day, I can easily hit the Vince Neil notes, and when he was, Motley Crue in their heyday, couldn't touch it now.
Sang Lou Gramm stuff.
Foreigner. Actually, Foreigner, love Foreigner, yes.
I know you're supposed to be asking the questions. Did you know Rainbow and Richie Blackmore's stuff? Did you know Joe Lynn Turner? Do you know that name? And he was a great friend. He is a very good friend of mine who I started out with years ago. He had a band called Fandango, which had a multi-record deal with RCA, and he was somebody that I worked with a lot when we were really young. I mean, when he was like 18 and maybe I was like 20 or 21, and we toured around and I made the first records with him on RCA, and then he took off. And
Joe Lanterno was after Dio had left Rain.
Yes, exactly. And Joey landed that thing, and he's had a great. Why I'm talking about him? Because you had mentioned your 3-octave range, and he was one of those guys who could.
I think he was also in the Scream was the name of the band.
Very possible.
Yeah, it was. They only put out one album, but man, it rocked.
Yeah, the real success he had was with Richie. But yeah, Joey Lynn.
Love to meet him. The last song that you're going to be doing for us tonight, what's the name of that one?
Drunk's Way Home.
Drunk's Way Home. Now, I've heard that one. That's fabulous.
Yeah, it's a favorite of PJ's, and that was one of the things in that whole collection of material that was written a number of years ago. And in fact, it was written in the period where we were in Montauk a lot, in the sort of late 90s or something. And when we put this album together, PJ kept saying you have to do Drunk's Way Home, and I sort of resurrected it and kind of rewrote it a bit, and it really worked out nicely. Tony Garnier from Bob Dylan's band plays bass on it, which is wonderful, and Max Weinberg, who of course is Max Weinberg, played drums on pretty much half the album. Wow. Nancy Atlas came in and sang on the record. We have some stellar performers.
The song is just phenomenal, and be honest with you, me and my ex-wife were together 17 years. She just broke up. It's been almost 3 months now, and I'm listening to the song, and that was pretty much the first month of our breakup. That was exactly how I was wallowing in my own self-pity and feeling at that time.
Right. Frank had asked what Drunk's Way Home meant, and I told him that it was kind of this expression that we had for taking like the long way around the mountains so the cops wouldn't catch you. And that was sort of the tagline, right? But as I was thinking about the lyric, it really kind of has this kind of, crying in your beer.
No,
loss,
it does. I mean, it made me stop in my tracks.
Right. Yeah, Drunk's Way Home is a good one. A lot of people like it a lot, and I like it very, very much. The record was really, again, gratifying, I think, to get done and to do it in a high-quality way. The recording was wonderful. We went to Cynthia Daniels' studio in East Hampton, and we completed the record there. We did some extra tracking there, and she mixed and mastered it. She has a wonderful facility there. And now everything is do-it-yourself. The record labels are, it's a very marginal industry now.
I was talking to, I forget which band it was, a couple weeks ago. Back in my day, in the 80s, an independent meant they did all the work, and if you happen to make some money, you got some money out of it. But now the independents, you're still paying them to do everything, so they're not even really working for you per se as an artist anymore. Do I have the wrong take on that?
No, I think that's exactly right. I heard, who was it being interviewed? Peter Frampton was being interviewed on NPR. He was talking about how he was asked what the changes in the industry were, the significant ones, the most important ones, and he said that in his day, which I guess was like mid-'70s or whatever, late '70s, and it went on really until the '90s, in the record business, that artists were developed. So they were given 4 album deals, 5 album deals. And if they didn't happen on the first 3 or 4, the label would still put money into them, and they would go, they would promote it right to the end of the deal. But it was always a 4 or 5 album deal. His huge album, the live album, which was, I think, the biggest selling album ever, and certainly for that period it was. And I think it may have been one of the biggest sellers ever, was because the label kept the support going. He said that now, if you get signed, if a young artist gets signed, they get one shot. And that's it. And that was his take, that was his sort of thumbnail take on what was happening with the business. But it's a very different environment, but in a way the independent thing is good because a lot of people are able to do it. You know, the internet and consumer technology and manufacturing, all the stuff that we're able to do now that you couldn't do before enables people to be creative.
Oh yeah, there are bands. I mean, there's one. I love their one song, the Texas Hippie Coalition. I don't know if you're familiar with that band.
I don't know them, but
They have one song, "Pissed Off and Mad About It," and the lead singer is just awesome. The band is tight, and without the internet and without them getting millions of hits on YouTube, I don't think they would have ever got out of the club scene, and that's if they were even able to make the rounds, because the music field is becoming more and more crowded.
it's so crowded, and I think with all of the negative aspects of the record business the way it was, or the film studio system the way it was in the 40s or the 50s or whatever, they acted as filters. Publishers, book publishers, acted as filters. So you had to be pretty good to get a publishing deal, or to get a record deal, or to get a movie deal.
Right.
Whereas now pretty much everybody can do it. So there's nothing filtering out good from bad. And this is not to say that the studios didn't make a lot of terrible films, and that the record companies didn't put out a lot of really bad records. But it was filtered down to a much smaller pool, right? Whereas now it's just, forget it, trying to break through that. So you do it on a local level and a regional level. That's how we've been approaching it. We play South Jersey, we play in upstate New York, occasionally in New York City, and we play the Hamptons. We play from the Shinnecock Canal to Montauk Point,
Well, I tell you, you really do. You sound awesome. I've mentioned before, and I'm going to mention it again. So you got 2 gold albums and a platinum, yes?
Yeah, that stuff was, in the 80s, I did a lot of recording work. I was thinking about it. The studio work that I did, a lot of it was either with female singers. I worked with Pat Benatar. I toured with her and recorded with her. Grace Slick, Janice and Dusty Springfield. Great, really great, fabulous, mostly female artists. I played with Engelbert Humperdinck and David Johansen. I was with.
That was my mother's favorite, Engelbert Humperdinck. She loved him.
But I also worked. I did disco things in the late '70s and the early '80s. I worked with Sissy Houston and a guy named T. Life, Vicky Sue Robinson. I played on a lot of records and arranged a lot of records. And in the '80s, I worked with a European star, Kim Larson, who would have been in Scandinavia, he would be the equivalent of Bob Dylan or Bruce Springsteen. Anybody from Scandinavia, especially in Denmark, every household has all of his records. He's that famous and that well known. Somehow we connected New York City music business, and I went on to tour and produce him for a number of years. So there were records, and we sold gold records and platinum records and stuff, which to him didn't mean that much because he wanted to do that here.
Right.
And my feeling was gold is gold. It was okay. And we had a big hit in France, and we had many hits in Scandinavia, in Sweden and Denmark. So
you did also a lot of music for movies, right? What was it, King of New York?
Yeah, but there's a whole long, my resume is long. I've been around for a long time, so it's gotten longer as we go. But there are a lot of film and TV.
Look, a day over 40.
Oh God, forget it. I'm way north of 40, but I won't tell you quite how far north. No, I did a lot of film score work. I worked with a director named Abel Ferrara. I started working with him probably around 1980 or something, and for 20 years. Composed the scores to most of the work that he did, which included, King of New York and Bad Lieutenant. We did a remake of The Body Snatchers, which was a Warner Brothers film. Most of his films were more cult-oriented and lower budget, but they got very well reviewed, and They were known, especially internationally, and people who know film know the film.
See, that's more my favorite stuff. The stuff that the critics, just, wow, you got to go see this. This is the best movie ever. Those seem to be the ones that bore me the most. I don't know why. Maybe it's just me.
Abel was a groundbreaking director, and he kind of set the stage for people like Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino, and those guys followed Abel. Nick Gomez was another one. These guys they knew about Abel Ferrara, and people who know film knew about him. So it was a great experience. I'm very grateful for the fact that he took me in, because I was a musician. I was a studio musician at the point that I met him, and I arranged and I wrote, but he put me on the road to composing film scores, which really that enabled me to write Under the Montauk Moon and come out here and play it.
Yeah, because you actually did get a lot of recognition for the work in movies.
It was a great run. It's not as active as it was even 5 years ago. If a film comes in, I'll score it. I did one a year ago called Art Equals Love Squared, which is an independent made by a Pakistani film director. So it's almost like a Bollywood thing. It'll be played on that side of the world, and you'll never see it here. But it's still afoot in that business. But that business has gone a little bit south, and it may very well come back. Like anything does. In the meantime, I'm out here and I'm playing. We got all kinds of gigs coming up. We play the Talk House. We play the Montauk Yacht Club. Playing concerts at Gurney's. We have good stuff. And we're rocking out.
That sounds really great. And I want a copy of the CD. I can't believe you guys only brought one copy with you, and Walker Vreeland gets it.
Thing that my wife texted me on the way over here. And she said, don't forget to bring a CD for Walker and for Ian. And I had none in the car, the bag that I usually had. So I said, well, I'll pass Crossroads Music. And Mike Clark, who owns it, will have, because he's selling them there, he'll have a couple on hand, and I'll just grab them. The store was closed. I got here, and I said to Job, do you have the CD? And he had one, which I gave to Walker. And I was going to...
You owe me.
Of course I owe you. It's a no-brainer. I'll be passing by here and drop it off.
Because I would be playing Drunk's Way Home tonight while I'm at home.
Hopefully not getting drunk on the way home.
No, definitely not. No, you don't get a copy, Frank. You're just the camera guy.
I thought you had a copy. I thought you had a copy. Frank Vespe, who is...
Wait. Frank got a copy too?
I don't know.
What is this over here?
I shot the opening party.
Frank is another. We're talking about talent in the Hamptons. Frank is one of the great guys, and one of the people who has really. I'm giving props to our.
You really want to make his head bigger than it is already? Are you serious?
He's a leading cinematographer in that.
Do you know we had to put in double doors just to let him in? That used to be a signal door, but his head wouldn't fit even when he went sideways. Looked like Stewie from Family Guy.
Well, you should have seen him at the East Hampton Film Festival last summer. He's on the streets schmoozing it up with Dan Ratner like it was, you're talking film.
There's nobody this guy doesn't know. There's nobody. Frank, you can't even walk down the supermarket aisle with this guy because he'll bump into 5 people he knows in the aisle.
I love it.
So you gave us some venues that you're playing.
Yes.
What's the nearest date?
May 23rd, Stephen Talk House, and that's a Thieves gig. We played there on this past Saturday. I guess it was the 18th, and it was wonderful. Nancy Atlas hosted this little bit of an extravaganza, and it had some of the best people out here, like Inda Eaton and Winston Irie, Caroline Doctorow, Cliff Black, myself, Dan Bailey, who's a terrific reggae artist, and it was a great night. And that place was packed to the rafters.
I was talking to Nick earlier today.
Nick, right? Exactly.
Jesus, I mean, it's amazing what kind of a job they do as promoters, as bookers. I tried booking bands here for about a year and a half, and we were doing all right for the first about half year or so, and I guess the newness wore off. It's like the new smell of a car, and little by little, the crowds kind of started trickling away, but the Talk House never loses that steam engine. It just keeps going.
It has that reputation, you know, and that keeps it going. People come out here, and they're, especially in season, Saturday nights are going to be, it's a given that it's going to be pretty packed. And then when Nancy Atlas plays there on a Saturday night, it's just that edge, you know, that she brings in that you cannot get in the door.
Joe, I need to start working with you and your wife, I think, to start getting these people down here.
That's so funny. I do, right, Frank? God, I love it, man. I love it. Well, so we have the Talk House, and Gurney's does a series of concerts on the beach on Tuesday nights, and we're doing the one right before July 4th, on the 2nd of July, and the one before Labor Day. So we have really two really good spots there, and then throughout the season we've got dates all over town. You know, Montauk Yacht Club we're playing, and Swallow East, and there are other things shaping up.
I'm going to make sure I grab your phone number.
Yeah, totally.
So, you know, when I have it there.
So you can get that CD.
Well, not only the CD, but get comped into a show or two and actually do something other than work at night.
Yeah, of course, man.
Yeah, that would be awesome for me. I mean,
We'll get you up to sing a little Fire and Ice or something.
Ah, nice. I could do that. We could do that.
Smoke on the Water.
Smoke on the Water definitely works. Oh, yeah. That sounds great. I really appreciate you coming out, Joe. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Frankie.
We'll be back with more Firewire after this.
Can't wait to see it. Thank you, guys. Thanks.
Thanks for stopping by for this episode of the Firewire. I love you, Jake. Take care of your mom. For now, get out. We'll see you next week.
Welcome to Firewire. You're watching Firewire.